Alright guys, welcome to my tutorial on SQL. My name is Chibikim and today we will be discussing about the check constraint. The check constraint in SQL is used to check uh, to limit the range of values that can be entered in the column, and note that this is also a Boolean expression. As usual, anything we want to do on SQL Server Management Studio, it can be done in two ways, graphically or using query. So we'll see how to do that graphically as well. So let's jump into SQL Server Management Studio. So we will be adding a constraint in this um, in the table, in the department table. I will be adding that in the department ID column. Now, if you look at the department ID column that I've already given out the output, let's see if we can insert a value in the department ID column. Insert into depth values 3. Call these operations. So let's run this and we'll insert this. Hopefully it will work. And here we'll have what we just inserted now. Now the check constraint, like I said, is used to limit uh, the, 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 the values we input in a particular column. Now let's assume this department ID is the age of somebody. And usually it is impractical for someone to be 200 years old. And sometimes we might need to restrict people from inserting such a value or inserting a negative value, say minus 200. So let me show you, for instance, that you can add a negative value, minus 200, and let's say this is HSC department. You see that if I insert this value, it will be accepted because that value is a negative value you can see here. So how do we restrict such entry? That is when the check constraint come into play. Let me delete the value we just entered now. So we can start from a clean slate. So we are back to where we were. So now we can add this using the graphical method. And how do we do this? Now we're going to come to the department table and we come to constraint. When we come to constraint, we now right click on constraint and we'll click on new constraint. Give it time to load. And yeah, it's coming up now. So for us to restrict those values, we will have to write a Boolean expression, and this is where we'll write the expression. So like we said, we want a value that is less than 0, but that is greater than 0 but less than 200. So how do we do that? I will say uh, depth underscore id should be greater than 0, and depth underscore id should be less than, let's just say 200, right? Since we're assuming that is the age of somebody. Writing content. Uh, Hold on. Expression depth ID be greater than 0 and depth ID. Sorry, this is 1. Depth ID should be less than 200. Let's give it a meaningful name. Let's say underscore ID, and then we'll close this. We'll right click on this and we'll save. So this has been accepted. Now if we refresh this folder, we will see that the constraint has been created. The constraint we just created, ck depth underscore ID. So now let's try to do the operation we did the other time. Let's try to insert something that is less than 0 and see what it gives us. We now see that we are having errors. The check constraint is restricting us from doing that. Let's see if we can add a value greater than 200, say 900. You see that we still have errors on this. So this is how we restrict or limit the values that can be imputed in a particular column of a table. So this is usually used to check, like the name says, is a check constraint. Now let's see how to delete a constraint. We will do that using a query. Now for us to delete a constraint is simple, just as we delete every other constraint. Assuming I want to delete this constraint we just created now, it's a table where we want to alter, right? So we'll type alter table. The table name is depth drop constraint. Then we'll put in the constraint name ck underscore depth underscore ID. So by running this query now, the check constraint will be deleted. You see it's showing command completed successfully. So if you refresh this now, you notice that the constraint has been deleted, and this now can now allow us to insert a value that is greater than 200. As you can see, it has inserted, and if we select, we'll see that this is 900. So we'll use this check constraint to restrict a value. It can be yes or no, it can be female or male, just to retrieve the number of values to what we want. That is the check constraint. Now we can also see the queries to if we want to add a check constraint using a query, is simple. You just alter table, add constraint, you type in the constraint name, you type in the check keyword, and then you put the expression that you want to check for. The deleting or dropping of table, which we saw in our hands-on, is what we have here. We alter the table, put the table name, drop constraint, the constraint name, and this will be deleted. Thank you for watching. We'll call this a day here. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also click the bell icon so that you'll be notified when a new video is uploaded. Thank you for watching.